Now I have here the 10 things in gardens that from now on you should not do. The worst chore and the most common to all is mowing. A bit more noise, Sue, a bit more noise. By not mowing, you save yourself money, you increase the wildlife in your garden, and you stop all this marital stress. Spouses can come home from their hard day and they don't have to go out into the garden and mow when they're in a bad mood. And let's face it, mowing is only easy if you're doing it all the time. If you're mowing your garden once a week, once every 10 days, it's hopeless. It's awful. It's bad for you. It's bad for the environment. These consumption of fossil fuels, you get hot, sweaty, and you're very narky. And it's just marital stress all the way. So stop mowing, and the wildlife in your garden will increase, and your life will become more pleasant. The second top step, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Is the other most singly detested chore in the garden, digging. Oh, look at those. Can you dig them digging? Why is digging bad for you? Well, have you heard of this thing? SSDS? Spring Spinal Disorder Syndrome. The hospitals, clinics, full of it. After a winter of indolence, what happens? Oh God, I've to dig the garden. And you go out, it's still cold, you haven't lumbered up, and within a minute, it's not. But what also is interesting about digging is if you don't do it, you will improve the wildlife in your garden. You will also save the planet by not releasing all this trapped carbon. Is that not correct, Deborah? Digging, no digging, was invented by a group of people from Australia called polyculturalists. And it's very rare that we get anything good out of Australia. So I think you should appreciate the quality of this advice. And we're going on to the next. Step number 3. Hoeing. The trouble with the act is they're just too mellifluous. Hoeing is a chore. It's not some ballet dance. You have to do it all the time. And in the 1990s it was discovered that hoeing is counterproductive. And what happens when you hoe? You're just bringing weed seeds to the surface. You're encouraging, it's a never-ending cycle. When have you ever stopped hoeing? As soon as you start hoeing, you have to continue hoeing. And the more hoeing you do, then the worse it gets, because there is an infinite supply of seeds sterilizedly buried between the soil. This has to be stopped forthwith. And I tell you why. If for no other reason that it's bad for poppies. That's correct, Andrew, isn't it? Raking. See, Morak has collapsed due to the intensity of all these unnecessary horticultural operations. Sue, have you ever raked before? Can we have just show how grueling raking can be? Oh, Sue, you didn't come from Cambridge, you come from Sadler's Wells, don't you? Raking during World War II was abandoned, right? Because there was nobody left to rake. And what happened? Did all these gardens survive? Yes, they did. And what happened? Leaves just blew away. So, what you're supposed to do when autumn comes, 6 weeks of continuous raking of leaves for no purpose whatsoever. Let the wind do it. If you have to move leaves, then just kick them sideways. One reason why you might want to rake the leaves off your lawn is to preserve all the fine grasses. But as soon as you're not mowing anymore, there's no point. So, no raking. It's a bit of a problem if you're Japanese, because that's all they do. So if you're Japanese, my advice to you is just go back to making the tea. But number 5.
Only number 5.
Number 5. Yes. Number 5 is deadheading. Do you know this? Deadheading. You have to get it. No, you got to bend over further. You have to get that spinal lock in this for hours. This. But what is deadheading? It's promoting flowers, isn't it? You don't want flowers in your garden more than the once. Let the plant take its natural course of action. Let it flower and then let it make seed. And from that seed, it will go forth and give you countless seedlings. And these seedlings will give you surprises. There is no surprises in deadheading. There is only spinal lock. Are you ready for this one? Weeding. Weeding. Let's stop weeding now. Oh, it's so nice. Not weeding is not something else that I've invented. I've not invented anything here today. All of these known practices have been invented by other people. All I've done is just pull them all together. Not weeding was invented by people that are just lazy. But not many people can appreciate the advantages of not weeding. They, in their Calvinistic persuasions, do not believe that gardening has no weeding. I assure you, it is possible. What's that? There's an objection from there. There's another one. This. No, I'll tell you this. I right. No, I right. You wrong. Nay weeding. Say nay to weeding now. Can't count anymore. But I do believe this is number 7. Edging. This is quite possibly the most boring exercise ever. Even when synchronized by such talented ballerinas. One of the things that edging does is reduce diversity in your garden. It creates these man-made lines that just makes your whole garden so centric, if there's such a word. Straight lines, lacking sinuosity, it does not make your garden enjoyable. And furthermore, when these lawns escape over your paths, they have their own unique habitat in that sense, and you can do that by lifting them up and having a peek at what's growing underneath, and you'll be surprised. So, no edging. Step number, what's it now? 8. Strimming. No strimming. And this is something that I have invented, I must admit, because when I was a young lad, quite a few decades ago, there were no strimmers, there were only scythes. Can you do some scythes? Have you ever done some scything?
Nettles,
there you go. Now, one of the first people I ever got to work with was a guy called Jimmy Adamson, who had formerly been a parish roadman. And what his job was to go around all the verges and of this byways of this parish and scythe. And during the winter he got to clean out the various shooks of that. But you know something about Jimmy? He spent so long scything that in his maturer years when I met him, he'd never been out of the parish. He couldn't use a phone. And that's true. He'd never been on a train. And why is that? Because he was scything. It's inhumane. And I think if he was still with us today, we could have presented him to some place in Europe where they can hear human rights abuse being catalogued. Strimming is obviously worse than scything because it consumes all these fossil fuels and thus further endangers our planet. We're getting there. Number 9, pruning. What's that all about? Huh? Pruning. It's unnecessary. It's just man imposing himself over his garden, saying, I don't like that branch, it's getting off. You know? Somebody will hear our objections saying, but what about fruit trees? I tell you something, every professional gardener knows this, that when they prune all their apple trees, all their fruit trees, they get nothing compared to Mrs. Gow down the road who does absolutely no pruning whatsoever. And this is a fact. Other pruning is just done to control disease, to arrange the form to suit whoever. Pruning out disease is not good. It's bad for biodiversity. The sheer degeneration of mature trees is critical to a successful wildlife. The various fungi, the insects, the beetles, the woodpeckers, it's all there. And if you continually prune away, you'll get none of this. And now we come to the very last step, which is called extreme pruning. And this is, as you'll work out, tree felling. Have you ever used a chainsaw, lass? That's a chainsaw. Yes, I've heard of mobile bandsaws before, but not mobile chainsaws like that. Yes. That wasn't part of the risk assessment, so can you strike that part? Yes. Why is felling trees bad for you? It's a health and safety issue. Falling trees, it hurts people. You show me a tree surgeon that's still intact. It's got bits missing, lumps here. So, trees, you know, the excuse is that you fell a tree because it's dangerous, right? Forget that. A tree will fall if it will fall. But if you leave it up and let it die naturally, the biodiversity improvements are enormous. Standing dead wood is where it's at. And what happens when a standing dead wood falls over? What do you get? You get a sore heap. You don't get killed. All the beetles and bugs and that have eaten all the dangerous elements of the tree out, its weight, its water, everything, the stuff that kills you. If you get a dead tree falling on you, I assure you, you only get a sore heat, you don't get deed. Thank you very much for tolerating me. Cheerio.